What's going on, guys? I hope you are doing well this afternoon. It is 4:53 p.m. Yes, I've been away for a while. I sincerely apologize. Work has been getting more and more hectic, been getting more clients in for various services. I do run a digital marketing agency, and I also do uh, technology-based consultations and stuff like that in Web 2 and Web 3. Anyway, getting back to the charts here, I'm just going to go over the S&P 500 really quick. So on the daily perspective, we are getting a bearish engulfing candle here, even though we are getting the 9 exponential moving average cross and the 21 exponential moving average right here as support. Not too sure if that will hold up in the short term. Pretty much my thesis has been consistent still with this particular chart. My expectations are, we broke out, thankfully, of this bullish descending broadening wedge. Pretty much for the entire week, we've been going up, sideways, and up. I do feel that we might have an initial opportunity to get in at lower prices if you haven't done so already. Not financial advice, but I do feel that we never really back tested this line here as support, so I think at some point in time we could be getting that within the next week or two. Overall, the structure of this chart is still bullish, and I'm just glad that we are still above the key levels of the 9 and the 21 exponential moving average. So overall, still macro bullish on the S&P 500. So I'm going to go, interestingly enough, into dominance right now. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get this information to you all. We did have this essentially this bullish pattern here. When you have a flat top and a slanted downward sloping support, that's actually a bullish instance. And we ended up getting that on dominance. And yeah, I was initially expecting some form of a breakdown, uh, which did happen. I think where I left off with you all, I'm going to go into the hourly chart for dominance here. Um, yeah, where I left off with you all was not necessarily this line here. It was more so kind of like a triangle. I'm just going to speed through this really quick. We did have a triangle pattern roughly. I'm just going to, sketch this out. Pretty much we got that break to the downside, and we ended up finding support pretty much here at the 46.9 level. We were not able to break this area as resistance. I'm sorry, as we were not able to break this area, which is 46.86, this particular area, which was a key level. The momentum oscillators, which is market liberator indicator right here, did give us an indication here that there was a buy signal, a significant one at that level, so that was an indication we're most likely going to see a bounce. Now, not only did we see that, we saw money flow cross bullish, and then we also did get this bullish trigger wave, right? I'm just doing a quick recap of dominance here. Let me shorten this so you see what I'm talking about a little bit better. Boom. So as you can see, let me change the color because it matches with the actual indicators here. So we got a low right here, and then we got a higher low right here. That is an instance of a trigger wave. And from that point, it was a good sign to go long on Bitcoin. So what we're seeing here is a huge momentum swing to the upside for Bitcoin. What does this mean exactly? Temporarily, we could see a cross. We did see a 1 hour cross to the downside, so we could realistically come back down here. Ultimately, I do think that 47.81% will get retested as support at some point. So we are seeing dominance kind of fade at this time, but you cannot deny this epic move to the upside. Ultimately, I would expect us to come down a little bit more to ultimately get a higher low instance. All right, so that's pretty much what I had for dominance here. I do expect a little bit more of downside until we can then kind of ratchet up and maybe even continue moving to the upside. But if I were to see, say, for example, 47.81 lost as support, then I would then consider, 46.87 as the new support and so on and so forth. But frankly, given what I'm seeing on this chart here, given that we did see this descending broadening wedge, it's a very ever so slight one, break to the upside, I'm expecting, cool off to then come back up and test these areas over here. We've just been ratcheting up in regards to dominance. All right, so now I'm going to go to Bitcoin, the chart itself. Some significant things here. We did break out of this rising channel, which is rather interesting. We broke through this key level of resistance finally. Now, what's interesting on the hourly time frame is we did get bearish crosses, and we are seeing Bollinger Bands start to tighten, right? So this is an interesting thing. Particularly these little dots right here, these are support and resistance areas. So from this perspective, I do see, hold on, let me turn off my magnet tool. Right here, roughly 30,450 has established itself as short-term resistance. And we are seeing support levels right here. Let me turn this red, given that it is acting as resistance and not support. Okay, so we do kind of have this like little box range that I would definitely like to see a resolution of. So, for example, if we were to see, like a daily candle close above 30,450, then we're most likely going to be pumping higher to the upside. If we see a daily candle close pretty much below 29,831, then I would expect us to eventually, break back into this rising channel and maybe even test these lower areas at some point in time. But so far, this is super bullish. You cannot deny the bullishness here. There was a huge update in regards to Ethereum, and it's just brought exuberance into the market, Bitcoin included. And so far, so good. I do feel that what we're witnessing is another leg to the upside. Frankly, given that we broke out of this rising channel, usually when you break out of the rising channels, the white line, this upward sloping white line right here, you could actually the bulls can attempt to flip this as support, essentially. So that's what I'm kind of looking for, as opposed to a break to the downside and back into the channel. You could make an argument that 29.2 wasn't necessarily back tested as support, so there is that to keep in mind, given that we are seeing tightening. So usually when Bollinger Bands do tighten, so let me turn off everything except the Bollinger Bands here. I'm going to turn off these indicators so you can just focus in on the Bollinger Bands. The Bollinger Bands is what is flashing right here. Okay, that's Bollinger Bands. So the Bollinger Bands are starting to tighten. Usually when they start to tighten like this, that just means this is a precursor to a big move. Okay, now the Bollinger Bands can tighten even more, and it could be days, maybe even a week, more likely a couple of days of this tightening to where volatility does kind of shrink, and we kind of see like a bouncing within this zone. Ultimately, though, that is a precursor to an even larger move. Now, that could be a bearish move, that could be a bullish move, we don't know. But given what I'm seeing here, I am leaning more bias bullish because of the break of the rising channel. Now, I did say in other videos that rising channels, they have a higher percentage of breaking to the downside, but given that we just saw this rising channel get broken to the upside, now this is a chance for the bulls to ratchet up this white upward sloping line as a line of support moving forward, to then use this as a launch pad to hit even higher prices, maybe even to 35.2 range. But yeah, so far so good. Good job, bulls. Okay, now given on the 1 hour, we are seeing actually a buy signal and really thick bullish money flow. This is actually really good. So for example, if I were to go the 1 hour, we are seeing some momentum go to the downside, but the money flow is still positive. That's a good thing. Now, also on the daily time frame, from a momentum oscillator standpoint, money flow is actually starting to turn blue. It's been blue these past 2 days, and the momentum wave has been ever so moving upward, thankfully, from a bullish perspective. Um, yeah, so far so good. I'm going to turn on everything right here except for the support and resistance. It's not really valid on the daily perspective. It's more so valid on intraday, so I'm going to leave those off. But essentially, whoops, the Bollinger Bands are starting to act as some form of resistance. Now, we do have an interesting range on the daily perspective. I would consider the 9 exponential moving average, which is this blue line, this dynamic blue line, and this 21 exponential moving average, which is the one below the blue, these two blue lines essentially. I do see those as support versus, say, the Bollinger Band down here. Given that if you look at recent history, it's just been, just ever so slow moving average to the upside. Now we are hitting resistance. We haven't done that in a long time, pretty much since around here. So I am expecting some choppiness around here. So it's really good for short-term swing trading, if you ask me. So that's kind of like what I'm going to be doing in my personal time. I'm not necessarily going to be doing that live or here. I'm more so using it as like a weather report for more macro type of things. But anywho, from a long-term standpoint, we did see a significant break to the upside, and so far so good. Okay, I'm going to move on to Ethereum. I'm going to check out Ethereum. All right, so I am going to zoom into more of an intraday level. All right, so we've had this long-standing support here. So as you can see on the 4-hour time frame, I did mark this line here as a key level. Earlier today, we did get a bounce off of that. Was it today or yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Not too sure actually. But we did get a bounce. We did get significant bounces off of this. And since then, we've just been heading to the upside. Now, what I'm kind of worried about from a macro perspective, so I did mention this rising channel here. I'm actually going to delete it just because it's kind of getting in the way of current technical analysis. So I'm going to delete it, or well, I'll hide it. I'll have it there as kind of like a nice little victory sign. Anyway, yeah, I did a Fibonacci extension. We did get a bounce off this the 618 right here. And it was in confluence with previous resistance that got flipped to support. Okay, and also, yeah, we did get an upward slope line right here, and it was confirmed that it got a bounce. So multiple instances, that's exactly what you want to see when you're analyzing a chart. You want to see confluence. You don't want to see one signal telling you that the price might bounce off of that level, but you want to see two, you want to see three. Okay, if you get two or three indicators saying the same thing, that's usually a good sign that yeah, it's most likely heading in that particular direction, whether up or down. So you had that upward sloping line, you had that horizontal line, you had the Fibonacci 618 pop up, prime spot for a long position. And if it broke, hey, you know what? You immediately cut your losses and then you initiate a short, because if this line, for example, was lost as support and it turned into resistance, then usually these instances, they break, usually they come back down to these levels. But in this instance, we actually got another bounce. So ultimately, good sign for the bulls, holding the support. But what I am kind of worried about, I don't want to cry any significant wolves here, but I am noticing that we are kind of developing some form of upward sloping resistance. And let me actually mark that for you guys here. We do have multiple touch points that are validating it. And these here, now ascending broadening wedges are ultimately bearish, okay? Now, I don't necessarily think we're going to break down right from here, but realistically, we could kind of, ride this bullish wave. Let me turn off the magnet tool. So we can kind of do something like this, and then ultimately how these ascending broadening wedges work is usually they break down either to the very bottom or to levels that were once considered support. Okay, so I am keeping my eye on that. Ultimately on the 4-hour time frame for Ethereum, this upward sloping support line, I am watching like a hawk, because in my opinion, if that area is lost, then that confirms this ascending broadening wedge pattern. At this time, I do have a Fibonacci extension. So far, it has been considered, it has been respected by traders. So I am keeping this live. I do feel that this is an active Fibonacci extension, and it really aligns up with like other areas of resistance, which I had marked previously, this area as resistance due to previous price action. So essentially, this box right here, and I'm going to make this box so you can see it better. I'm going to spitball it, right? I'm just going to eyeball this for a little bit. This box here, I am considering this as a key level to watch in terms of a pivot. I would, in my personal opinion, due to this support being respected, I could realistically see 1,950 broken as resistance eventually, and we just freaking rip to the upside. It hit 2.1k. I can realistically, confidently feel, safely say that in my opinion. Also, given that we are seeing that support level hold, and we are seeing the horizontal level hold at 1,837, I do feel that any attempts to short at that position will get eaten up immediately, and I do feel that this is more so an opportunity for a long position on a macro level than, say, a bearish instance. Now, we are getting some divergences right here. We are getting some sell signals, but given that the money flow is still thick in the positive, we're also getting multiple positive signals here. Let me turn that yellow. Let me shrink it. We've got a little mini trigger wave right here. These areas are showing blue dots, which is a good sign in terms of bullish sentiment. Prices above the 9 and 21 exponential moving average and above key levels of support, with Fibonacci levels are acting as support. So far so good. I mean, it does look strong to the upside still. Overall, I do feel pretty confident with ETH and Bitcoin, given that dominance is going crazy. I would expect Bitcoin to outperform altcoins, and I would expect it to outperform even Ethereum. Now, given, if we go back to dominance really quick, given that we are seeing a bearish engulfing candle, and we are seeing an instance where we could retest 47.82, we could theoretically see Ethereum and large cap altcoins actually outperform Bitcoin for the short term. Given what I'm seeing right here, so for example, ETH to Bitcoin dominance is validating my assumption. Given that the momentum waves are starting to curl up, we did get not one, not two, but three significant buy signals. That's a really good sign as well that sell pressure versus ETH and Bitcoin is subsiding. So ETH is given an opportunity to run up a little bit more. Now, keep in mind though, I did mention this, that we are still in a downward trend, and I've been saying this for months now, that we are in a downward trend. So we have a low. We got, well, actually that didn't count. Actually, we had a low right here, rejection, and we got another low right here. So yeah, we've had instances where we're still maintaining that macro trend as long as we're below 0.077. We're still in hot water if in terms of ETH versus Bitcoin. Now, if you have momentum oscillators on significant time frames, say the 4-hour time frame, these are really helpful in finding like areas to take profits or to enter into positions. Obviously, you have to take in consideration multiple things. Market liberator indicator is kind of wonky and complicated. But if you know exactly what you're talking about, if you know exactly what you're seeing, you can get a better semblance of it. Realistically, my favorite tool for market liberator indicator is money flow and the overall trend of money flow. So it's really simple if you really look into it. So the slant of the money flow, pointing down. So if if the blue waves are starting to point to the downside, that means it's time to sell. So if the red waves are starting to point to the upside, then it's time to consider long positions. Okay. Whoopsie daisy. So let me zoom out here and let me show you exactly at those points. So when you start seeing those waves subside, and you saw divergence. Not only you saw divergence in the momentum waves, which is these blue waves with the blue and red dot. I mean, the blue and red dots. Here, you saw divergences. So you had a high, you had a low, you had a low, and you had a high. Okay. You not only had that on momentum waves, but you had that on money flow as well. So you had a high, you had a low, and you had a low, then you had a high. So once you see divergences on money flow and momentum waves, it's just that much more easy to make decisions in regards to taking profits or taking, moving into stables or moving into Bitcoin or moving into ETH or whatever, right? So this is a phenomenal tool. I highly recommend Market Liberator Indicator. It's in the description below. It's on a donation basis. You can literally donate $1 and you get access to these awesome tools. I highly recommend it. Anyway, so far so good in regards to my thesis in regards to Bitcoin dominance. Given that Bitcoin dominance is starting to lose favor, we are seeing ETH kind of pump right now. So short term, I do feel that the alts are going to catch up a little bit more versus Bitcoin, but given that we are seeing a potential, higher high and a higher low instance on Bitcoin dominance on a macro, it's safer to actually be in Bitcoin and, witness and experience phenomenal gains. So you don't need to be in an altcoin in this market to net awesome gains. Okay, so like it doesn't mean that altcoins are not going to perform well versus the dollar. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is that Bitcoin is going to be outperforming pretty much everything at this point in time. You'll have those pockets, you'll have those intraday kind of stuff, like for maybe a day or two, alts will rip versus Bitcoin in terms of value gained. But on a macro level, Bitcoin will outpace and outperform altcoins. So, if you're more of a short-term scalp trader, this is a great opportunity to, strike while the iron's hot, get your assets, get your dollars, move them into altcoins, ride the waves, take profits, move them into Bitcoin or whatever on a macro. So it's like this is a really interesting opportunity where alt traders and Bitcoin traders can converge and have a merry old time. All right, so anyway, I'm gonna go to Litecoin really quick because I've been getting some requests on that one. So given what I'm seeing in dominance, ultimately, yeah, I've been waiting for the 0.382 to get tagged. Now, money flow isn't showing anything that's getting me excited, I'll be honest with you. We did get a little bit of a fake out right here. Nothing serious. I would ultimately kind of just wait it out, given that what I'm seeing with dominance, like I've said prior, it's not a good time for altcoins. Like I had said prior, if this in previous videos, if 0.003754 is lost as support, then we're most likely going to see an extended consolidation to the downside. And ultimately, we have this long-standing downward sloping resistance line here that is still acting as resistance. We have not even had an opportunity to touch it. There's been so much more so exuberance of Bitcoin as opposed to the inefficiencies of Litecoin. I think Litecoin's a phenomenal asset. We have serious politicians calling Litecoin a commodity. And commodities in the crypto space are safe versus the SEC, which has been the thorn in everyone's ass in the crypto market. So ultimately, I do have a macro positive outlook on Litecoin, but short term, I do need to see Litecoin flip the 0.382 area as support. Currently, we have been testing it. As you can see, we did get a pump to the upside. Now, on the 4-hour time frame, if you know anything about candlestick theory, this particular candle is called an inverse hammer. It's an inverted hammer. That is actually a bullish sign of downward momentum dissipating. And it's at a key level as well. So it's at the 0.382 level. excuse me, given what I'm seeing on the chart here, we could realistically be seeing a bottom forming. Now, from if you're a risk taker, not financial advice, we did get a buy signal right here, okay? Not only that, we are seeing a bullish hammer pattern. Now, what I'm not liking is money flow. Money flow is still pointing to the downside. So, I don't like that. I would much rather see this bearish momentum subside to where I can see a positive outlook. We don't have that yet, so I'm gonna wait. But I do like that the bulls are stepping in at the key level, Fibonacci level, and I'm like, I repeat this constantly. The 0.618 and the 0.32 Fibonacci extension levels usually are bounce zones, and we are kind of getting a bounce right now. So at this time, I'm going to keep my eye on it. Now, we could be going sideways, like best case scenario. Keep in mind, this is best case scenario. This is not what's going to happen. This is best case scenario. Best case scenario is we could be bouncing within these fib levels for a little while, ultimately until we get that pump to the upside. That is what I'm keeping my eye on. That is what I would hope to expect in regards to what I'm seeing in the charts, but it would just make a lot of sense given that we said we are seeing an inverted bullish hammer. We are seeing buy signals starting to accumulate here. And it's only a matter of time that this asset eventually pivots. Now, will it create a higher low? That's to be seen. Will it create a higher high? That's to be seen. But eventually there will be a pivot coming, and at some point, price will test this downward sloping resistance line. If it's broken, then I'm epically bullish. I would be selling some of my Bitcoin into Litecoin, and I would just be riding the wave to the upside. Overall, a neutral with Litecoin, but honestly, if the 0.382 is established, guess what we got? Guess what we got? We would get a low, and then we get a higher low. That's what I've been waiting for this asset. So this is a really interesting time for Litecoin, given that the halving cycle, it's on the verge. I think we're about like 100 and I'm just going to spitball it, like 180 days away from Litecoin's halving. The halving cycle just means that the algorithm, cuts the distribution supply of the Litecoin miners that secure the network. So once that happens, that supply shock is seen in the price, and it's usually a sign that prices will pump to the upside. So that's why everyone's excited. Anyone who knows about Litecoin is excited about the upcoming halving cycle in a couple of months, really. Anywho, all right, I'm going to move on from Litecoin, and I'm going to check out EGLD. I haven't talked about EGLD in so long. So EGLD, I have been waiting for price to finally hit the 0.236. I did mention that maybe about like a couple weeks ago, possibly. Once we lost the 0.382 Fibonacci level as support, I was expecting Litecoin to eventually come down to this level at the 0.36. The 0.236 Fibonacci level. Now, regarding altcoins are intense, okay? So altcoins could literally dump even more, okay? We could create a full retrace. They're very rare, but full retraces can occur. So I am cautious regarding QNT versus BTC. Now, if you look at QNT versus the dollar, it's actually like doing pretty well. But if you look at QNT versus Bitcoin, it's horrendous. So you're much better off investing into Bitcoin as opposed to quant. But it is at a key level, and if the 0.32 is lost, it's usually the 0.236 that's bounced. But there are probabilities out there to where the 0.236 could get lost, and then we're back to zero. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic regarding current price action versus BTC. So just like Litecoin, we are seeing significant buy signals starting to pop up, but money flow is still pointing to the downside. So it's better to wait and see as opposed to jump into something that's just not mature enough. But anyway, Oh yeah, okay, I should do one more, and that is Solana. Where is Solana? There you are. Alrighty. Okay, so um, where did I leave off with Solana? I was mentioning that 21.34 was a significant level of resistance, and as you can see, once it was confirmed on lower term time frames, like the 1 hour, for example, yeah, it's just been pumping to the upside. I think maybe the 15 minute, was it the 15 minute? Yeah, the 15 minute was like a precursor right there. We got a 15-minute candle close, and we start seeing significant bullish momentum. We got an establishment of the 0.786 as support, pump to the upside, higher low, and we're now seeing the 23.918 as resistance at this time. It's only a matter of time, in my opinion, to eventually break this area and eventually hit 26. Now, what's great about Solana, it's actually been outpacing a lot of the altcoins. Solana has actually been, thankfully, moving more so as a leader as opposed to a follower in the altcoin market. So I'm keeping my eye more so on Solana nowadays. Now, given what I'm seeing on the chart, we are seeing divergences accumulate. All right, it doesn't mean it's going to completely dump, but I would expect sideways and down. Maybe a retest of the 786, maybe a retest of the 21 exponential moving average, which is right here, pretty much at 23.6, maybe even a little bit lower. Maybe we could see a couple wicks below here, maybe even to the Bollinger Band. Not too sure exactly how it's going to play out. But ultimately, I would see maybe a little bit of a retrace to then ultimately, move to the upside up here at 26, point, 5. But yeah, good signs for Solana. I'm really glad that 21.34 was broken. Now, what's rather interesting, I'll be honest with you, is that it wasn't officially tested as support. So, given that we're seeing divergences, I mean, it's kind of lofty for me to say, but realistically, at some point, I would not be surprised if, say, like, we tested 76, broke, you know, uh, the fib level, hit 26.5, then came back down to 19. I would not be surprised about that. Due to, key levels did not test it as support. As you can see, the 4 hour, just bullish engulfing, broke through. No back test, nothing like that. Uh, Nothing on the 2 hour, nothing on the 3 hour, um, nothing on the 1 hour, nothing on the 3 hour, nothing. On the daily, nothing. So I wouldn't be surprised if price were to come back down. And what's rather interesting here on the daily perspective is that the 9 and the 21 exponential moving average did get across. Super bullish, by the way. I'm really glad I looked at the daily. The 9 and the 21 ended up crossing. Now, what's super bullish is across the candle close, bullish engulfing candle, right? A 9 exponential moving average cross, but a back test, a retrace and back test to flip the 9 and the 21 exponential moving averages as support. That is ultimate bullishness. If we see that, and it's going to take days. This is the daily chart, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to take days to actually see that happen. But when it does, on a daily perspective, that's when you get large institutions respecting this asset and buying in. So it can get very exuberant very fast. Really glad to see that with Solana. It's gone through a lot of controversy, especially with Sam Bankman-Fried, FUD, and major NFT projects leaving the ecosystem onto Ethereum and to Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff. So really nice seeing Solana kind of surviving this bearish wave. I do feel that it is an underrated asset. So it's one of my favorite pet cats, if you will, of the bear market. I have been casually accumulating, and I've just been monitoring the charts, and I'm glad to see finally, we had the low right here. This is on daily level, okay? We had the low, and now we have a higher low. That is super bullish on a macro perspective. Now, if we were to break 26.5, that would actually nullify this local high area, and that would actually break a downward trend, which would be huge for the market, for the Solana market. Anyway, I've been kind of ranting a lot today. I just want to say thank you so much for your time. If you're still here, you're a freaking boss. I love you so much. Yeah, if you haven't already, please like this video. I would really appreciate that. That is digital currency in the YouTube world. If you just like the video, and also, yeah, feel free to leave comments if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Please feel free to share anything that you would like. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Take care. Have a great hump day. Bye.